If you're just learning how to add and subtract integers like this and like this, I'm going to walk you through 16 different examples. So I'll leave chapters so that way you can skip ahead. So check out the description. And then I'm also going to review a couple of multiple choice questions. So in this first page, essentially, is just to kind of give you an idea of the skills you need to be able to answer these types of questions over here. All right, so in the first section is multiple choice. All we're doing here is rewriting each of these subtraction problems as addition. If you're able to write subtraction as addition, it'll make things a little bit easier when you're adding or subtracting integers. So let's take a look at the first one. So which expression shows 5 minus 7 written as addition? The easiest way to remember how to rewrite this as addition is simply by doing what we call keep, change, change. So that's one of my students said, use keep. So keep the first number, change the sign, right? In this case, subtraction is going to become addition. So we have, I'll put it over here, 5 minus 7. Keep the first number, change this sign to addition, and change the 7 into a negative 7. So now we have 5 plus negative 7. So 5 minus 7 is equivalent to 5 plus negative 7. So that means the correct answer for this one would be letter C. All right, so example 2, same thing, write it as addition. So keep this, change this, change this. So 5 minus negative 7 is the same as 5 plus positive 7, which would be letter A for this one. All right, example 3, it says here to write this one as addition. So I keep this, change this, and change this. So this becomes negative 7. Negative 5 plus negative 7. So this one would be letter D for this one. Negative 5 plus negative 7. In the fourth example, keep, change, change. So negative 5 minus negative 7 is the same as negative 5 plus positive 7. Negative 5 plus positive 7 would be letter B. All right, in this next section is practicing how to write it as addition without multiple choice. So it's a little bit harder because you have to think about it, the answer yourself. So rewrite this as addition. So keep the first number, change minus to addition, and opposite of the 8, negative 8. And I put parentheses around it just to clean it up. All right, the second one, rewrite this as addition. So keep the first number, change this to addition, change this one to addition as well. So 7 minus negative 8 is the same as 7 plus 8. All right, third example as addition. So I keep the first one, change this to addition, and then opposite of that 8 be negative 8. So negative 7 minus 8 is the same as negative 7 plus negative 8. Then example 4, rewrite this as addition. So I'll keep the first one, negative 7, change this to addition, and then change that to opposite, positive 8. And there we have our 4 examples right there. All right, next section, they want you to calculate each of these. So you have to be able to, once you rewrite each of these, your subtraction problems as addition, you have to be able to actually answer the problem now. So I'm going to show you a strategy to use using counters, and that'll help you out. And the reason why I highly recommend writing out the counters is because it'll help you when you get to the bigger numbers. So you can understand what's happening when you're combining positives and negatives, negatives and negatives, so on and so forth. So let me show you what I mean. So here's the first example. So I'm adding 5 positives plus 7 positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives. I add 7 positives to that. And now we notice we have 5 here, 7 here. When you add this up, all you have, you're adding, you're just combining. So altogether, how many do we have? We have a total of 12 positives. So my answer is 12. All right, let's look at example number 2. So we have 5 positives plus 7 negatives. So I have 5 positives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm adding 7 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, when you add positives and negatives together, they form what we call a zero pair, meaning they cancel each other out. So these cancel, these cancel, these cancel, these cancel, these cancel, and you can see we're left over with 2 negatives. So 5 plus negative 7 is negative 2. Now, one thing to point out is when you do this method of zero pairs, make sure you do line it up. Because a common mistake is to have them on a line and you cancel out too many. Okay, so 5 positives, I drew 5 negatives right next to it, and then the leftovers below to make it more obvious. All right, next example, negative 5 plus 7, so 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 positives, so I'm adding 7 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, you can see here, these all cancel out because they're zero pairs, and we're left with positive 2. And then the last one, -5 plus -7. So 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm adding 7 more negatives. So 5 negatives and 7 negatives. When you combine this, there's no zero pairs. So altogether, you can see here we have a total of 12 negatives. So keep in mind, when you add positives with positives, you end up with more positives. When you add positives with negatives, in like examples 2 and 3, things cancel out, and you just look at what's left over. And in the last example, when you add negatives with negatives, you end up with more negatives because they just combine. There's nothing that cancels. So that idea of what, when things, you end up getting more or when things cancel out is really important when you get to the bigger numbers. Like if you were adding, for example, like 24 plus -61. This idea is going to be very important for that. And then on the next page, all we're doing is just getting more practice. So 12 negatives plus 7 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 negatives. Add 7 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And like I mentioned, remember I matched these up so that I could cancel them out quickly. And I can see what's left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. So -12 plus 7 is -5. All right, second example, 10 negatives plus 7 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Add 7 more negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So basically I have 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 negatives all together. The next example, 6 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Add 12 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can see here that all these here cancel out and we're left with a total of 6 positives. So my answer is +6. And then last example in this row, 8 plus 7, you can see 8 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Add 7 positives. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. Nothing cancels. So altogether we have a total of 15 positives. All right, example 5 here. 3 positives plus 4 positives. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm adding 4 positives. Nothing cancels. So altogether, 7 positives. All right, example 6 here. 20 negatives plus 10 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 negatives. I'm adding 10 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can see here, these cancel each other out. These cancel each other out, and I'm left with a total of 10 negatives. All right, so you can see here, this number got pretty big, and it's going to take a long time to draw 46 negatives. But like I mentioned before, when you add like positives with positives, you end up with more. Or if you're adding, let's say, negatives with negatives, you end up with more negatives. So looking at this situation here, I could see the same thing. If I were to draw all these negatives out, I would have a total of 46 negatives in here. And then if I were to add this one here, that's another negative. So altogether, I just have 47 negatives. So my answer for this one is -47. So you can see that, again, the idea of when you add negatives with negative, you end up with more. So this idea of zero pairs when you combine opposites, that's an important idea when you get to bigger numbers like this. All right, next example here, we have 30 negatives and we're adding 10 positives. So this one is another one where if I were to draw it out, it's a lot of negatives to draw. So there's an interesting way we can do this where I can split this number up. The 30, I know is the same thing as 20 negatives plus 10 negatives. So right, that is the same as 20 negatives plus 10 negatives, right? 10 negatives plus 20 negatives gives you 30 total. Then I'm going to bring down this plus 10. And I can see here that if I were to combine these two here, 10 negatives plus 10 positives, those are 10 zero pairs. They're going to cancel each other out when you add opposites. And you can see we're going to be left over with 20 negatives for this one. And if that doesn't make sense, you can still draw 30 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I got to add 10 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you can see here we have 10 zero pairs here. They all cancel out, and we're left with a total of 20 negatives left over. All right, so the remaining problems from 9 through 16 they're all subtraction. So it's going to help out if you rewrite it as addition first, and then repeating the process that we did up here where you just combine them. So the skill that I did on the other side, we just do keep, change, change. So keep this, change that, right? Change the opposite, change the opposite. So now this is simply just 2 plus 2, which is 4. Next example, it says -1 minus 10, so I'm going to write it as addition. So I keep this, change this, and opposite of that becomes -10. So I have 1 negative plus 10 negatives. So 1 negative, I'm adding 10 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All together, we have a total of 11 negatives. Nothing cancels. So when you combine the same, right, negatives with negatives, you just end up with more. And one thing to point out is don't forget, if what you see are negatives, your answer is negative. So make sure the sign matches your answer. All right, this next one, 8 minus 7, is pretty obvious. The answer is 1. But just to keep in the spirit of practicing rewriting as addition, keep this, change this, and change that to opposite. So -7. Then if I do this out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 positives. I'm adding 7 second negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can see here that these cancel out, all these here, these cancel out, and we're left with 1 positive. So my answer is +1, as I mentioned before. All right, next example, 12. Keep this, change that to addition, and change that to the opposite, which is +6. So I have 8 negatives plus 6 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm adding 6 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. So you can see here that all these cancel out, these cancel out, and we're left with 2 negatives. So -8 plus 6 is -2. All right, and here's the next one, 42 minus -30. Write it as addition, so keep the first one, change that to addition, change that to opposite, which is +30. And good thing I don't have to draw this out because this is simply just 42 plus 30, which is 72 altogether. All right, example 14, keep the first one, change that to addition, change that to opposite, right? Opposite of negative, positive. And now I just have 1 negative. I'm adding 3 positives, 1, 2, 3. Remember, negative and a positive together cancel each other out. So we're left with 2 positives. So my answer is +2. Example 15, we have 5 negatives, take away 20 negatives. So write it as addition, keep this, change that. So I have 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, adding 20 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And you can see here, these are all 0 pairs. And what's left over? 5, 10, 15 positives. So again, in the future, when you end up with bigger numbers, eventually you want to eliminate this method and you'll be looking at this. And when you write it as addition, you can start to visualize this. So practice this now, but eventually you don't have to draw it out. You'll be able to see that, okay, if I were to draw 5 negatives and 20 positives, 5 of these negatives would cancel 5 of these, and I'll have 15 positive left over. And then that'll help you figure out your answers. And then the last one, write it as addition. So keep this, change that to addition, and then opposite of that, -11. So now 12 negatives plus 11 negatives. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then I'm adding 11 more negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So altogether, you can see 12 negatives plus 11 negatives. Nothing cancels. We just end up with more negatives. So the answer here is -23.